wisdom from Bhagavad Gita class. And I hand it over to Nitinji.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe Sandhya. Thank you, Vijayji, for a wonderful session. Agami Somavare Puna Milama.
बहुत समीचीन.
Dhanyawad.
धन्यवाद.
Okay, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you had a great weekend, and I'm excited to be back. I'll talk a little less and hear more today, but we'll make it pretty engaging. We have some interesting questions and discussion points today as well. So let me share my screen. We will get started with our opening prayers, and then we'll get into the discussion, the fascinating discussion that we are having on Karm Yog. And today we are going to touch upon the final tenet of Karm Yog, inaction aspect of it, and what it means. And I'm sure a lot of us would be able to relate to it. At least I am able to relate to it. So let's get started. Let me share my screen and then we'll get underway. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet. Yeah, now we can see it.
All right, wonderful. Audio is fine, right? Audio?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, let's get started with our opening prayers then. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening once again. So let's get started with the shloka. I'll recite it and then you're welcome to follow. And then we will get into the fourth principle today. We will look at a short video from Swamiji as well today, just to recap the concepts that we have been discussing. And then we will get into the fourth principle. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalheturvhu ma te sangostva karmani. All right. Do we have any?
Shamji.
Radhe Radhe Shamji.
Radhe Radhe Shamji.
Radhe Radhe. How are you? All good?
I'm getting better.
Well,
I'm not having a beetle leaf or a rasgulla,
okay.
by the way. So, but yeah, I'm getting better now. Thank you.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalheturvhu ma te sangostva karmani. Radhe Radhe.
Full. Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Shamji.
Ashutoshji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Ashutoshji.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Wonderful, Ashutoshji. Radhe Radhe.
Samji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe ji. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karam phalheturvhu ma te sango sat akarmani. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. Very nice. Samji. Radhe Radhe.
Rahulji. Radhe Radhe.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भू माते संगो स्वकर्मणि.
Wonderful, Rahul. Very nice.
उदय जी राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. कर्मणि एवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूर्मा ते संगोत्स्वकर्मणि. राधे राधे.
Viji, Radhe Radhe. All right, I see a few more hands.
या मीना कुमारी जी राधे राधे.
राधे राधे. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोत्स्वकर्मणि.
Very nice, Meena Kumari ji. Radhe Radhe. All
Can
right.
I answer?
Yes, please.
राधे राधे. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्तु कर्मणि.
Very nice, Sandhya. So you transitioned from fur to pur, which is nice. Good. So the translation, do we have anybody else or we have covered everyone?
I think all are. Oh, okay, Lakshmi Prasanna ji.
All right.
Radhe Radhe.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhur ma te sangotsva karmani.
Very nice.
How are you,
Radhe Radhe.
Nitinji?
Thank you very much. Very nice, Lakshmi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm doing good.
Okay.
As you can see, I'm back in good spirits and recovering. So all good. Thank you. All right. I can see 2 more hands. We can take a couple of our more hands.
Yeah, Manish ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफल हेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्तु कर्मणि.
Very
राधे राधे.
nice. Radhe Radhe. All right. I can see one more. We can take last one, then get started.
Yeah, Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe, Rupa ji. Are you reciting, Rupa ji? We can't hear you.
Rupa ji.
We can't see you. We can't hear you. Okay, I think there may be some problem with audio. Rupa ji, if you are back, let us know. Okay, let's get started then. So the short translation for this shloka goes like, you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. And today we are going to touch upon the aspect of inaction. We'll do a quick recap from the concepts that we have discussed. When we hear it from Swamiji, it has a different impact altogether. So we'll do a video of Swamiji to recap the concepts that we have discussed, and then we'll get into the fourth aspect of Karm Yog, which is do not be attached to inaction. What is inaction actually? That is what we are going to discuss. So let me move on. Just give me a thumbs up if you are able to hear the audio, and then we can get started. So anyways, before we get, we have been discussing this. So the first three we have already spoken about at length. Do your duty, but do not concern yourself with the results. Like in Karm Yog, it is said, do everything as if do things as if everything depends on you. But after that, leave it as if everything depends on him. This is the concept of Karm Yog. Prayatn mein savdhani, phal mein santushti. The fruits of your action are not for your enjoyment. That is the second one we did. Then we really went into this concept of even while working, give up the pride of doership. The concept of Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta. Hopefully that quotation is going to ring bells next time you hear it, and you can see it in perspective. So today we'll discuss the fourth one. But before that, let's get into a beautiful short lecture from Swamiji to drive home some of the concepts that we have been talking about. Give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear the audio, and no issues there.
People ask that if
you're able to hear,
short way.
I'm going to just.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction.
Here, Sri Krishna says, Arjun, to go towards God, you will not have to stop working. You will have to change your attitude towards work. That is all that is required. A change of the attitude. Arjun was a warrior before he heard the Bhagavad Gita. After he heard the Bhagavad Gita, he was still a warrior. He was still fighting. What was the difference that came about? Not the work was just the same. The difference was in his consciousness, his attitude towards that work. Earlier, he was looking upon this war as an opportunity to take vengeance upon Duryodhan and win back the throne of Hastinapur. After hearing the Bhagavad Gita, he is detached. Doesn't matter, many kings came and went. It's not going to lead anywhere. But I have to do my duty. And let me do it as a service to God. The internal attitude change. People ask that if we actual Swamiji, then we all become a Swamiji. Often when
Nitinji, there is some disturbance. The video is not running smoothly.
Okay, there's some disturbance. Give me a second.
Yeah.
What's happening? Is it?
The sound is breaking continuously. In the beginning, it was fine. Just now, this problem started occurring.
Okay, let me try something else. Give me a sec.
Mm.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. Let me change some resources that way. Okay, I'm going to share it again and let me know if this time also you face that problem or not. Okay, sorry about that. Are you able to see my screen? Let me know.
The presentation. Yeah, now the video.
Okay, so let me play that again and you let me know if it plays fine now. Just change some resources. Is it playing okay now?
Bhagavad Gita sloka chanting.
Now it sounds good.
Okay, it's good. I'm just
Fruits of your actions.
Yeah.
Before he heard the Bhagavad Gita. After he heard the Bhagavad Gita, he was still a warrior.
Is it okay?
Yeah, right now it sounds good.
He was still fighting. What was the difference that came about? Not the work was just the same. The difference was in his consciousness, his attitude towards that work. Earlier, he was looking upon this war as an opportunity to take vengeance upon Duryodhan and win back the throne of Hastinapur. After hearing the Bhagavad Gita, he is detached. Doesn't matter, many kings came and went. It's not going to lead anywhere. But I have to do my duty. And let me do it as a service to God. The internal attitude changed. So, it's often a misnomer. People ask that if we become spiritual, Swamiji, then will we also have to give up our work? Do we have to become a Swamiji like yourself? You know, very often when I give lectures, people, they immediately come. So, if I believe what you're saying, will I have to give up my work? No, that's not what the Gita is all about. The Gita is not teaching us to give up work. It's teaching us how to change our attitude to the work, the consciousness we bring to it. Once I was reading the statements of a Zen master. So Zen is all about attitude. It's a dry kind of philosophy. So he was asked, what did you used to do before you became a Zen master? He said that I used to cut the wood and I used to fill the water from the river and carry it out here. Now that you have become enlightened, what do you do? He says, I cut the wood and I fill the water and I carry it out here. What is the difference? The difference is earlier I was doing it without awareness. Now I am doing it with complete awareness. Again, a change of attitude. But here in Karm Yog, we add devotion to it. I am doing this for the pleasure of God. See, one temple is being built in Vrindavan. And workers have come all the way from different states, from Bihar, from Bengal, etc. And they're working, sweating it out in the sun. You ask them, why are you working? I'll get money at the end of the day. That is one consciousness. Another, why are you working? Oh, this is very satisfying for me. It gives me great pleasure. And there have been such sadhus. Temple was made, the sadhus would come and work as laborers out there. Why? Oh, this is a work of God, let me dedicate myself to it. So, working out there, the activity is the same, but the consciousness has changed so much. So, Karm Yog involves a change of consciousness. Towards what? Towards the fruit of our work. We are working in material consciousness for the fruit, that I will get the fruit of my work for my enjoyment. It will make me happy. I will get this, prestige, money, comfort, whatever. So the goal is our attachment to the fruit. Now you change that. The fruit is not for me. Then The fruit is for the pleasure of God. Just bring this one change. So you're still working, but for His pleasure. The work continues. The consciousness has changed. Chhatrapati Shivaji. His guru was Samarth Ramdas. Samarth Ramdas was a sannyasi, very scholarly. He has written the Das Bodh in Marathi. So Chhatrapati Shivaji was once sitting in his palace and Samarth Ramdas was walking in the street of his capital with a begging bowl. Bhiksham Dehi, Bhiksham Dehi. Chhatrapati Shivaji thought that this is absolutely incorrect. I am the king, my guru goes around begging. This is not the way it should be. What to give him these few rupees? Let me give him everything. So he wrote on a piece of paper, I offer my entire kingdom and everything in it to you. And he went and put that slip of paper in Guruji's begging bowl. Guruji looked at it and he read the note, I offer everything to you. And he smiled. He said, my son, I am a sannyasi. What will I do with the kingdom? I don't have the time to administer it. And I don't have the interest either. I am not begging because I need it. I am begging because it gives me the opportunity to meet people, to talk to them about God, to engage them in seva. That is why I am doing it. In other words, detached. Now you have given me the whole kingdom. All right, no problem, I am accepting it. But henceforth, you rule this kingdom for me. Rule it in this consciousness that this is not mine, it's my Guruji's. I am just ruling here as a king, as a service to him. So Chhatrapati Shivaji's entire consciousness changed. He was still ruling, but he was doing it as a service to his Guru. So I remember, there was this Chanakya Pandit. There used to be a serial that used to come, Chanakya, many, many years ago. So Chandragupta asks Chanakya in that according to the Vedic philosophy, what is the position of a king? What is the status of a king according to the Vedic philosophy? So Chanakya immediately answers, the king is nothing but the servant of his people. That is God consciousness. I am not the enjoyer, I am the servant. Why? Because I am a tiny part of God. My job is to serve God. So I will keep doing my work because that's my nature. If you are by nature a warrior, you will keep doing your work. But you will start doing it for the pleasure of God. So that service attitude naturally creeps up. There's nothing higher than service. The Vedas say that is your constitutional position. You are a tiny part of God. Your constitutional position is to serve God. And your work is a means, a medium of serving Him. So the fruit of that work is not for your pleasure, it is for God. So you, Arjun, are entitled. Karmanne vadhikaraste. You have the adhikar to do your work. Nobody will take it away from you. Ma phaleshu, not the fruits, they are for God. So whether they are good or bad, don't bother. Did you put in your best effort? I did. Fine, good enough. That's all your duty is. You put in your best effort, bas. The results are for God, right? So let them be however they are. That is the test. If poor fruits, we become depressed, then we are attached to the fruits for our sake. And if it doesn't make a difference to us, then we are detached. So the fruits in any case are not in our hands. The fruits of your actions are not in your hands. One person works hard all his life, chasing the great American dream. What to speak of becoming a millionaire? He finds it difficult to make two ends meet. And one person has just landed up from another country and he's settled and adjusted his visa status, and immediately his business starts booming. How did it happen? Was this fellow very intelligent? No, he was ordinary. There's so many factors involved in the results. Not only your effort, your past karmas, your destiny, the situation at hand, the karmas of others prevalent in that society, matter of circumstance, the place where you are in, and sheer luck. All these factors count in determining the result. That's why one student works 14 hours a day and still cannot make it to those Ivy League colleges. The other doesn't do anything and still he sails along. So, Arjun, the results cannot be determined by you. Be prepared. No matter if you put in your best efforts, you may get bad results. But if your philosophy is that the results were for the pleasure of God, then you will be elated. God wanted this. Never mind. If this is the will of God, all right, let me be happy in it. So, with this philosophy, immediately releases us from all kinds of tension while yet putting in our best efforts. So that is called NATO, not the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Then, not attached to the outcome. Not attached to the outcome. You see, each time a person is playing golf, it is always the outcome which is in the mind. What is the score? What is the score? What is the score? Now, he is not enjoying that shot as much because the mind is always up there in the future. Now, just forget about the score. Just focus on enjoying that shot and playing it to the best of your ability. When you forget about the score and just focus on that one shot, you will have the most enjoyable game of golf in your life. Because you use this not attached to the outcome. So Shri Krishna says, Ma phaleshu kadachana. And ma karma phala heturbhur. Don't think that you are the doer. Develop this mentality. God helped me along. He gave me the energy. Others helped along. In other words, don't develop the pride of doing anything. So when you start thinking, he is the source, I am just the instrument, that pride of doing will also go. So in multiple ways, this verse is applicable and beneficial to all who are working in the world. This is like a sure shot way of reducing stress. So further now Shri Krishna is going to elaborate on Karm Yog, and then he's going to talk about enlightenment and the diseases of the mind. All these will come along as we wind up this chapter and see what Shri Krishna has to say to Arjun in the remaining verses.
All right. So hope you enjoyed this recap of the concepts that we have been discussing. So beautifully, Swamiji has explained that the concept of just tweaking the attitude. Right? There's also an English saying that it's not the aptitude but the attitude that determines our altitude in life. So our work remains same. It's just that tweak that we have to make, and just relinquish or or give up not only the pride of doership but the to the fruits. If we make that tweak, we are actually started aligning to the principles of Karm Yog. Hope that shed more light on it and will help solidifying this concept even more. So let's get into the other aspect of it, the one that we have not touched upon yet as yet. The last but not the least, it's a very important concept. Just give me a sec. I'm going to stop share for a second and then do it again. There is some problem that is happening. So it did help reinforce this concept by Swamiji. Just the tweaking of that attitude that makes the whole difference. So we continue to do what we do. Nothing changes, right? Like in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjun, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmar Yuddhescha. So Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmar. That is the yoga part of it. And Yuddhescha means now fight. That means the karam. So it's like yoga plus karam, you combine it. You continue doing what you're doing. All your God is asking is to change your consciousness. He's not asking you to do something different externally. He's not asking us to become a monk. He's simply asking us to acquire the mindset of a monk. And in that sense, there's absolutely no difference between monk and you at that point. And that is where we're going to discuss that important concept of Karam Sannyas as well. It's a very, very important concept, often misunderstood as well. Difference between Karam Yog and Karam Sannyas, which one is higher, what Lord Krishna is saying, and how do we have to look at it in perspective. That is after we have completed this Karam Yog part. So today we will discuss about not being attached to inaction. Then we will put it all together tomorrow. And then we will do a comparison with Karam Sannyas, what Lord Krishna has to say that, so that Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas, they stick and we have that concept solidified properly. Let me share my screen and then now we'll get into the inaction aspect of it. Now, inaction is something which has been strongly condemned by Lord Krishna. It reminds me of, our ex-prime minister, no offense meant. I liked his statement. He used to say that not taking an action is also an action. Okay, which is kind of an interesting way. But Lord Krishna is telling us, yeah, that could be our game plan as well. Sometimes you just let it play out. Things just go away by themselves. Lord Krishna is talking about resorting to action, contrary to the popular belief that Bhagavad Gita is a call to inaction. No, Bhagavad Gita is a call to action, big time action. Whichever station of life you are in, do your duty. Forget about the results, leave it to God. Do your stuff as if everything depends on you. And when it comes to the results, leave it as if everything depends on the God. Right? So let me share my screen and we'll get into that concept. Very deep concept again. Let me share my screen again. Today it's going a little technically here and there, but hopefully now we are going to resolve it. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. So about attachment to inaction. So we might be able to relate to this, right? When we get bored, we hit the snooze button, the tendency to procrastinate is there as well. I think we can relate to that. Or for that matter, we find the world too troublesome and resort to escapism. It's getting boring and we just don't want to, we want to do our own thing just because we find the world too boring, right, for ourselves. In fact, this is called, this attitude of getting bored from world and resorting to spirituality is called Falgu Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya, where you're not actually detached to the world, but you develop aversion to the misery that the world is offering you. So the true detachment is when you look at it this way, that the world neither has happiness nor sorrow. But when you run away from sorrows of the world and drown yourself in something else, that is kind of an escapism. And even that detachment is not something which is true detachment. It is called Falgu Vairagya. So when you encounter a similar kind of reversal or non-favorable circumstances on the path of spirituality, then you'll get detached to spirituality as well. So God is saying escapism is also not an option. Face things head on. Third one is when you want to run away from your responsibilities. Another thing that people think spirituality is related to running away from your duties. Oh, too much of misery in this world. Only if I could run away from my duties, I will fulfill the purpose of my life. Lord Krishna says, no way. Okay, that's not how you look at spirituality. And then the finding the work to be very cumbersome, right? It's just not making sense. Like I just want to run away from material world. I just want to do Radhe Radhe. Lord Krishna saying no, doesn't work that way either. Okay, you have to be a graduate to actually get to that level, and that's where we are going to talk about Karm Yog and Karm Sannyas, because this concept is very misunderstood. People say, okay, I will become a sannyasi, this that, almost use it like a weapon, right? The family gets scared, okay, this guy will become sannyasi, so let's listen to him. That doesn't work that way. You cannot get to a postdoctorate level when you have not even gone through the basics or completed the high school as yet. And we'll discuss about this concept as well. So call to action is important, right? It reminds me, what was that? Doing action is important. Inaction is not an option where you keep on procrastinating or you resort to inaction, right? There is a, reminds me of a share in Hindi which says, मंजिल तो मिलेगी भटक के ही सही, मंजिल तो मिलेगी भटक के ही सही. Why my memory is not cooperating? भटक के ही सही, गम तो उनका है जो घर से गुमनाम है, जो घर गुमराह तो वो है जो घर से निकले ही नहीं. So it's important to take that step rather than keep on waiting for that all the signals to turn green in your life and keep on procrastinating. And procrastination is known as one of those things which is the biggest obstacle on the path of spirituality. The reason for that being that I think we've spoken about this concept before as well. Procrastination is a mindset where we keep on hitting the snooze button in life, and that mindset sooner or later has to be conquered by us only. So even let's say theoretically we were to, let's say, live for 200 years or 500 years or 1000 years, still we have to wake up one day and break that habit, because mind will still tell you, I have enough time, I have enough time. You will continue leave. So Lord Krishna is saying that inaction is not an option. Technically, in fact, if you look at it, there's a shloka Lord Krishna is talking about. So all these concepts that we're talking about, if we look at Bhagavad Gita shloka itself, BG 3.5, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karmakrit karyate hiya vashah karma sarva prakritir jay gune. Not even for a moment anybody can remain without action. So this is again a facade where you are doing that, but that is also considered as an action. It's a low level action where we are procrastination, but we cannot say that relinquished action. That is also considered as an action, because action is not just the karma that we do. Action is even the thoughts that come to our mind. So if we have thought something bad about somebody, the karma has already been delivered, whether we have done anything bad or not, because that sankalpa has been logged by Lord Krishna. That is how powerful it is. And proper science of work, it has to be understood in context where we have to resort to action, do the needful that is needed, propel ourselves to action as opposed to shunning away the action or running away from the actions. And attached to inaction is actually not only not recommended, but also condemned by Lord Krishna. If you look at it, he's actually condemning it. So any kind of procrastination or running away from action or using spirituality as an excuse to shun your duties, material duties, all that stuff has to be looked at in perspective. So when people worry that if you have started on the path of spirituality that you will become a sadhu, okay, it will be a good problem to have, because not everybody can become a sadhu. It's a very advanced stage. If call of God comes, God dials your number, it's a good spot to be in. But if somebody artificially renounces the world and just dons a saffron robe and stuff, then Lord Krishna says that he'll be neither here nor there. And that is something we'll get deeper into this concept when we discuss the difference between Karm Yog and Karm Sannyas, and which one is a recommended path and why. Which one is a superior path, which one is a recommended path, the technicalities of both the path and why Lord Krishna is recommending one over another. So we'll get deep into that concept as well. So the key concept here is inaction is not an option, where we simply keep on pushing away the work because of various reasons. Our mind has a tendency to keep on doing that, but we need to fight our mind, fight that battle with our mind, that no, this is something which is condemned by Lord Krishna. I just have to do what is needed and not keep on procrastinating and wishing that things will go away by themselves. Okay, in some cases it might be a strategy, like our ex-PM used to say, but Lord Krishna is saying, propel yourself to action. Don't wait for things to happen. Now, with that, the important part here is that we are going to discuss today is this concept can also confuse us a lot, and that's where I would like to hear from participants today. Sandhya, you can make some announcement before we get into this discussion. This concept is a very deep concept to be understood, right? We talk about Karm Yog, where you offer fruits to God, you think about God, you are not the doer. So basically, we are bringing God into the mix. Now, you may have to perform sophisticated work like performing an operation, or for that matter, when you have to focus on job at hand. One question that comes to mind is, and in fact, that we are all endowed with one mind only, right? If God had given us two minds, then we could have simply told God that, hey, one mind I'll reserve for all the things I want to do in life, for movies, for my friends, for relatives, kids, everybody, and other mind I will reserve for you. But God is smart. He has given us only one mind. So when we have one mind, how do we keep our work or the world? God is saying, you continue doing what you are doing, but do it as a service to me and God at the same time. How is it possible? Is it even possible? And if it is, how? And that's where I want to have a bit of a discussion from participants, but after Sandhya has made her set of announcements for the day. And get this going, because this is a concept, if we crack it, or at least we need to make an endeavor to crack it. That is essentially what Lord Krishna is saying, right? The whole concept of Karm Yoga is around that only. Now, how do you perform your job and bring God into the mix without losing the focus on the job at hand? How is it possible? Is it even possible? Why or why not is what we're going to discuss today. Over to you, Sandhya, for the announcements, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, thank you. Can you just stop sharing for a minute, and
It would be a pleasure to do that. I've done that already.
Yeah, let me just share my screen. Can you see this?
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah, so first of all, Swamiji is in US. I think everyone knows it. And so there are tours. So I'm going to post the link for that, that like JK Yoga activities, upcoming events. So one can see wherever you are, and if you can get the opportunity to meet Swamiji and attend the live transformation sessions with him. Then we have the family camp coming up from June 24th to 30th. So whoever hasn't registered, please go ahead and register to enjoy this blissful event. And the link for this also I'll just post in the chat box. This is a very interesting new thing that has come up. So JK Yog Reels contest. So you can just make a short, quick reel describing your experience of before and after your association with JK Yog through any CICE, Bhagavad Gita class, or any other events. And you know, those reels, there's a contest. So feel free to make use of this opportunity.
It is for family camp, so if you have attended one, but if not family camp, your association with CIC or JK Yoga sessions, that's fine too. And your time starts now. So please go ahead and avail this opportunity.
And I think it will be a fun experience to attempt to do this. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we have the fundraiser going on, which is for education and healthcare. A walk in Dallas has already occurred, and I think there are many more which will keep happening. So please, I'll also post a link for this, and feel free to donate and support in this venture.
And there's a dollar for dollar match, by the way.
Yeah.
So your impact will be doubled when you do that.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. I think for now, this is it.
Yoga festival, International Festival of Yoga is also coming up. We want to talk about that.
Yeah, I can go back to it. I thought it
No,
might get overwhelming today.
that's fine. Let's do that. It's our marquee event for the year. If you think you have seen the biggest event of the year, just wait for this one. So it's going to be a fantastic event, just amazing event that's coming up. And now we have our own CIC center to conduct it. So it's going to be a really grand event, International Yoga Festival. Do check it out and avail that. It's going to be online and in person as well.
Yeah, so I'll also post the link of this. And then, yeah, I mean, this is in general, we have many online classes. So on the website, you can get details about these. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandhya. So do help us spread the word around of all the events that we do. That could be a little seva you can do, because we never know who will get inspired when, through which link, and can get associated with any of these sessions or with the seva. So 5-minute seva, all of you can do, help spread the word around, like, share, comment. That goes a long way in actually creating the buzz that we need around these events, where a lot of hard work goes behind the scenes by a lot of volunteers. So thank you. Let's continue with our discussion then. So the topic that I picked up is, how do we basically, what do we think about this concept, and how do we get it into action? How to make it possible actually?
Yeah, I mean, there was some questions and comments in the chat. So can I first take them?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think first of all, Surinder ji had said that 2.47 plus 24/7. So basically, reiterating that our verse 2.47 should be remembered all the time.
24/7, yeah. By 365 as well, I would say, and by 366 during leap years. Okay, the next level.
Yeah, and he also wished that all the devotees be the receiver of Akshay Patra on this Akshay Tritiya. So
Akshay Tritiya, yeah, there's a nice story about it. It never, it always has something to offer. I think Draupadi had asked that from Krishna when Durvasa had come, and that patra would always have food in it. It will never finish. So Akshay Patra is never gets spent away, and that should be what we should ask from God. That devotion, the spiritual hunger should be like Akshay Patra. We should never have that quench or thirst always coming up. Great. Okay, any questions you wanted to talk about?
yeah, there's one more. So Kumarji says that you had said that in the world there is no happiness or sadness, but doesn't it go against the belief that the world is a dukhale?
Dukhale basically for the conditioned souls. Once we start understanding the concept, there is neither happiness nor here. World is perfect in itself, and we'll talk about inner world and outer world around it. It's our inner world which creates those fleeting perceptions. Actually, people who conquer their inner world, they find neither misery nor, because they see everything as a shamai. Everything is a perfect creation of God for a particular purpose. So dukhale is for conditioned souls. See, we have reasons, we are conditioned, and we see miseries and reversals in this life. Still, we can't walk the path. If it was not even dukhale for conditioned souls, there is absolutely no incentive for anybody to even seek spiritual answers. Ruskin Bond had said, right, there are two important days in our life. One, when we are born, and second is when we figure out why we are born. So spirituality tells us why we are born, what's the purpose of our life. And the conditioned souls may experience, like we are conditioned souls, so we see miseries, but actually as we start elevating ourselves, we will become neutral to this concept. In fact, there's neither happiness nor distress in this world. The world is perfect the way it is right now.
And there are some questions from S. I don't know who is S. So what is destiny? Is it prarabdha? And what is luck? I thought there is no such thing like luck in spirituality.
Yeah, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Yeah, luck is born out of prarabdha. So we'll get into the prarabdha concept again. But prarabdha is destiny. It's like our sanchit karma are like an ocean. God picks up a drop from that ocean and gives us to us in a particular lifetime. That becomes our prarabdha. And then what we end up doing through our free will becomes our kriyaman. So our past kriyaman becomes our present prarabdha. Our present kriyaman will become our future. So the drop from the ocean of our sanchit becomes our prarabdha, which is what is called destiny. But we will never come to know whether it is prarabdha or something that we have achieved through our kriyaman. So focus should be on our free will and what we can do through our purusharth, as opposed to becoming fatalist. That is what our scriptures tell us. Don't leave things to destiny. It is called bhag. The other day we were talking about tushtis, right? Ishwar tushtis and Kal tushti, and third one is bhagya tushti, where we say, okay, in my fate it was written. We don't do that. Spirituality tells us, take control of your life. Focus on things which are well within your control, as opposed to thinking, having a fatalist attitude. Luck, yes, luck could be born out of your prarabdha as well. If you hit a jackpot, it can happen in your life. Right? Whether a good thing or a bad thing is a topic of another day's discussion, but few things they are preordained just because of some of the meritorious deeds you might have acquired, or the negative deeds you might have acquired. Good or bad can happen, which is luck or bad luck. It can happen as well, which is born out of prarabdha, but we will never come to know. So it's better not to focus too much on that and focus on things which are well within our control in this life.
Yeah, that's it. I think now we can get started with.
Okay, so let's get into this concept. It's a very important concept. How do we? I mean, how can we do that? You think about God, do your work. It's very confusing, right? How do we do that? Is it even possible? What Lord Krishna is suggesting? Is there any analogy we can derive inspiration from, or story maybe, or something that sticks to our mind when this concept comes? Let's get this going. I can see a couple of hands.
Swati ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. What Guru Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, I will tell the same thing, not different anything. But I would like to just add 2 points. What he has told, that whatever you do, keep the God in the mind. That why I'm doing this for God. I'm making breakfast for the God. I'm doing this work for the God. So if you keep in God and offer the work to Him, then we can, with one mind, we can keep doing the work also, and at the same time we can keep on chanting God also. And second point, what he's told to Arjun, that you be the instrument at the hand of the God. The same thing I am telling to myself, that I'm the instrument, I'm doing his work. So he is getting his work done through me. So that will keep me, like, every time I'll be remembering God only. Like, I'm his instrument, I'm working for him. This is all, he is the director of the movie. He has made my, this actress, whatever role he is given, that role is given to me. So I'm not entitled to the fruits of this. He is telling me to do, I'm doing it for him. These are the 2 things I follow usually.
Beautiful, Swati. Beautiful practice. Yeah, that's true. I think we need to solidify that practice. So we'll continue on that. I'll build on that a little bit more. Let's hear from a couple of other participants as well.
Yeah, Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe ji. Nitin ji, I'm glad from your enthusiasm and that your surgery must have gone well, and you are hale and hearty, and you look like full enthusiasm in that one. Coming back to this thing, like Swamiji and Maharaji says, Man hari mein, tan jagat mein. So keep your, whatever you do in your kitchen or in your daily activities and all those things, keep in mind in your, all the way in your mind. At the same time, keep on doing your duty to the right earnest, whatever your capacity happen to be there at that particular moment. There's a nutshell of the whole thing. Mind, of course, is one. Will be attached to a different aspect of the mind, karam, with your hands and your body and all those things. You keep on doing your worldly activities, whatever profession you happen to be there. Rather, that's my 2 cents in a nutshell. Rather.
Yeah, beautiful points, Samji. That is essentially the concept of Karm Yog as well. So let's hear from Kumarji as well, and then let me add on to that. I'll give you some examples from real life just to illustrate this concept. So see, this concept is a little, do we ever forget our identity even in our dreams? Do we forget who we are even in our dreams? Why? That consciousness is so deeply embedded in us. We never forget whether I am a guy or a girl. A mother never forgets that she's a mother of 2, even when she's teaching the kids, or she's a doctor, or whichever profession she's in. Why? Because that identity, whether it's related to self or her, the association or the bonding or the relationship that she has with her kids is so deeply entrenched in her mind that not for a moment will she forget who she is. And that is the consciousness God is asking us to achieve even with God. It is possible. If Arjun could could perform a job which required so much of sophistication and focus, like fighting a battle with people like Karan, uh, you know, his Guru Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama, how much of focus and concentration would be needed, and he could retain God in his mind, that all of us can actually, not even for a moment. It's just like driving also, we feel a sense of it, right? Do you really have to think about whether you are pressing your feet and releasing the clutch and chaining the gear? Initially, yes. But beyond a point, it gets so embedded into our system, subconscious, that it becomes part of your other things, where you might be doing, talking to somebody, but you are not missing anything that is needed to do that. So God is telling you, actually, it is possible to do that. It's not that mutually exclusive, either God or work, both can go hand in hand, and we experience that. We are actually capable of doing that in our lives as well, right? So that is essentially the concept here. Let's hear from, I can see a few more hands to add on to that discussion. Let's hear from them. And
Yeah, first of all, so Preeti ji has also sent a chat message where she's saying she's reminded of a story in this context. A horse comes from nowhere to a farmer. He says, good thing, bad thing. It goes on, and in the end, his young son, who is injured, is saved from going to a war, while all other young men are forced to go to the battle.
Yep, that's true. Good thing or bad thing, I know this story.
Context, yeah.
We don't know what is good, what is bad. We can only make a good guess based on our own limited intellect, that this is good, this is bad, but the big picture only God knows, and everything is happening for a good reason. See, God is called all compassionate and a merciful Father. Even our prarabdha, for that matter, if we have to endure something, he would put it in such a way that we can learn something out of it and come better and stronger out of it. We just need a perspective for that. He's not a father ready to wield a stick that got you, let me give you a rap on your knuckles. No. If you have to endure our prarabdha, so be it. But then it is actually presented to us in a way where we can learn something out of it. And he does not give us a prarabdha that we cannot endure. And he reserves his best tests for his best students also. So he'll give you the prarabdha that we are capable of taking and uplift ourselves. We have to trust him on that. He'll not give you something like, even our material father will not give us a test that we are going to royally flunk, right? Because it will break us down. So he gives us tests that we are very much capable of handling. Only thing is, we have to come out of it with flying colors and not complaining, crying, and whining out of it. So.
Yeah, and Smita Joglikarji says, we are always multitaskers because we have multiple sense organs and they try distracting. To stop that distracting, keep God in mind.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, very true. But it's a very interesting concept. See, God, just think of how much level of contemplation would be needed where God is at the back of your mind always. It requires an immense level of practice to actually get to that consciousness. Right? There are people whom you are deeply attached to. They are at the back of your mind always. So essentially the same principle. When you get attached to God, you really believe that He's with you always, and you have contemplated on it deep enough, long enough, then that consciousness would become part of it, where it's just there, always there. Anybody you are deeply attached to, you would experience that person is always taking your mind space, no matter what you are doing. And that is the concept, basically the same thing Lord Krishna is talking about, right? Gopis, Roop Dhyan. I mean, there's one beautiful prasang in Bhagavatam where Naradji is going by and Gopi is sitting. She's, sitting and she's parishan. She's and Naradji, what's going on? She said, no matter what I do, this Krishna pops in my head always, and I'm trying to do reverse practice to take him out of my head. So that was her level of practice, where she was feeling distracted that this guy comes and troubles me all wherever I go. And Krishna is Ras Sindhu. Swamiji says that once Krishna starts taking control of your mind, see, ordinary things, mind space, right? Simple material blisses. And when the Ras Sindhu, Krishna starts taking your mind, obviously he'll not do that just for the sake of it. One can only imagine what will happen, right? Nand ke poot ka bhoot, like Rahul would say. It can be amazing. That's what we all will be privileged if Krishna decides to do that. So just imagine her level of contemplation and attachment to Krishna, where Krishna had taken complete control of her mind. How fortunate she would have been. It requires a lot of practice for sure. Let's hear. I can see quite a few hands.
Yeah, sorry for keeping you waiting. Kumarji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Kumarji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, Sandhyaji. Nitinji, glad to know the teeth are gone, but the wisdom is back, right? With you back in form. Thanks. So what I, of course, one of the questions I had kind of asked Sandhya ji on that, and then of course she asked that and you responded. That's fine. I think I was slowly going towards inaction there. But anyway, I thought I would ask some of the one thing which I wanted to share is how to think of God, right? Because I tried this at work and it worked, but sometimes it stopped working. Like basically, as I said, initially I always thought of my projects as my baby. Then I had a change in the mindset after listening to Swamiji's NATO principle. I started, saying, hey, it's God's baby. I'll just do what is best for it. But then what happened is I did that and I was pretty successful on many days. But on some days I went back saying I was getting affected by something which was affecting the project. So I was not fully there. So what I do is these days, I at least 3 times, right? Once in the morning, as soon as I wake up, just before going to sleep, and during lunch, I remember God saying, God, please give me this wisdom, please let me do these things for you. And if possible, I think at a later stage, I want to keep these some app or something, alarm each hour, and then remember God.
Yep.
That kind of makes it even more, kind of becomes a habit, right? And then you are more in that particular consciousness than the body conscious.
Yep, beautiful. I'm glad you asked God for wisdom and not wisdom tooth, okay? That always helps.
Yep, thanks. Radhe, Radhe.
And then Sunil ji sent me a long message on how your experience is going to be like. He freaked me out. So Sunil ji, if you're already there, I can tell you my experience after a week, because right now I don't know if it's truly helping or it's the ice pack which is enabling me to speak right now, because swelling was really bad, but I preserved for a couple of days and that is actually helping. Might take a few more days. But yeah, it's kind of an experience in itself for sure. Beautiful points, Kumarji, like always. I can see Pragyati raising her hand as well.
Yeah, there were many people who had raised their hands. I don't know, they stopped it.
So inaction is not an option, okay? If you raise your hand, please complete it. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Pragya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, Nitin and Sandhya and everyone. Yeah, and I love the humor part of it with deep knowledge. First, I wanted to answer Kumarji's earlier question of dukkation. So that again reminds me of a couplet from Upnishads. Jagama sukh dukh do nahi, asur dharile jnaan radhe radhe. सुख माने दुख मिलत है, सुख न जगत मोह मान राधे राधे. So what Maharaj is saying, that sukh and dukh in the world is a perception of our mind, of the world that is inside us, rather than the external world. And again, yeah, coming to how to remain in God consciousness, Krishna consciousness or Guru consciousness all the time, और इसी साधना में हम लोग लगे हुए हैं. So as Nitin was also saying, like same thing, I want to highlight the one and only one method I feel is to develop an attachment or love for God. In the world, if you will notice, our mind dwells in our attachment, in our children and our family. If we are able to implant or develop that attachment towards God, automatically it will drift towards him. When we look at things in the world, they will try to see through his eyes. कि अगर महाराज जी ऐसा करते देखेंगे तो वो क्या बोलेंगे? What will he say? If we are able to develop that attachment or that love, that consciousness gradually starts coming. As simple as like a nurse works 8 hours, 10 hours in the hospital serving 100 people, but her attachment, her mind remains in a son who is not well at home. Or like people working in the office, in the corporate world, working 12 hours in the office with so many people around, लेकिन उनका attachment उनमें से किसी में भी नहीं है. Their attachment is either with the work or with the family. Because that is what our mind dwells in the attachment, and the only sure short method is to gradually develop our love for God through his Naam, Gun, Leela, Dham. It is so beautiful, the Leelas of Lord Krishna, that our mind, it has a natural proclivity to, it just captures, it pulls our mind. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Pragyati. Beautiful. Very nice couplet you sang. And true, Krishna is called Ras Sindhu. He is the epicenter or the source of all the mellows we get in this world. And we have not even experienced his divine mellow as yet. Maybe some traces of it during devotion. Once he decides to take control and start, giving bliss, then we can only imagine how intoxicating it can be. And then he gives you the ability to tolerate it as well. Okay, he'll make sure you don't sublimate because of that bliss. Just tolerate it and enjoy that bliss as well. Beautiful point. And we just have to draw his grace and hope that one day he'll start taking control of our mind as well. Obviously, we have to clean it first of all. He'll not get into a dirty place, and then one can only imagine, what our scriptures say. Experience would be a different league altogether. Okay, couple of other hands. Let's see.
And Smita ji has also given a systematic tip along these lines. When we start any work with the name of God, we have already crossed 25% of the road. When we ask Almighty to stay with us through the process of task, 75% work is done. And then add your heart and soul with sincere dedication. Finish your task, keeping God in your heart. This way, Almighty is behind back of your mind and always with you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Smita ji. Beautiful points. Thank you for sharing that.
And there is this question from Urvi ji. I wanted to ask that when we start attaching ourselves to God, we don't like it at all when people want to talk to you about something else. We like being by ourselves. And then we also start to kind of cut off from friends and others because we don't like being with them. Is this Falgu Vairagya? What should be changed about this attitude?
No, it's good actually. It is called Anartha Nivritti. Okay. So when you start losing interest in things that don't add value to your life, which is good in a way, but yes, at the same time, we need to be smart to navigate it, because you cannot just avoid a lot of people, especially the stage of life we are in. If we have a choice, sure, but there are times when we don't have a choice. So that's when we have to learn to navigate it smartly. In fact, we can do maybe this practice in one of our sessions. We can be talking to each other, and at the same time, you could actually be reciting and having your dhyan going. Just practice it with your partner, somebody at your, okay. And then the key is just give importance to the last thing that they have spoken. Just repeat that for them. So they will also feel you are engaged with them. You can actually do that. I'm telling you, practice it. You give just last thing, just repeat, and it will become a practice after a while. There are people who will come and they have just their own stories to tell. Okay, all kind of stories. And what do you do in that case? If you simply walk out of them, they'll feel offended. If you show disinterest, again, they'll feel offended. So the art is keep on smiling, you keep on doing your stuff. You can practice it, actually it can happen. And then the last thing that they've said, just repeat it for them. They'll be like, all right, you got the due attention. So I think we need to find our own tools around it, because escaping from world, especially as long as we are doing Karm Yog, which is recommended path by Lord Krishna, we will get into Karm Yog versus Karm Sannyas. Okay. Urvi's question, next question is, why to even go through this grind of Karm Yog if we have another path? No, we have to go through that. But then we have to be smart to devise our own tools, techniques around how to navigate through situations around us and avoid conflicts, right? If wearing spirituality on your sleeves is going to land you in trouble, better not do it. It's your private matter. Keep it secret. Even though you may feel like talking to 10 different people, it's so exciting, right? Talking about Krishna, keep it to yourself, tolerate it, because people may start putting impediments to it because their self-interest will start getting harmed. So I think we have to devise our own techniques around it. It is possible. This practice, try it out. Maybe somebody at home, they are talking and you're doing Radhe Radhe or Hare Krishna quietly in your heart, and just give importance to your last thing that they have said, repeat it for them, and that's it. That is Raganuga Bhakti. It's your private, nobody can take control over that.
Yeah, and Dr. Ganupriya Ravindran has also said she had asked this question to Swamiji in person when she met in Chennai 2 years back, and she was busy with sincere work throughout the day and night as a doctor. So Swamiji asked her to put an empty chair in her consultation room, just opposite her chair, and imagine that Sri Krishna is sitting there watching her, and every 5 minutes she could see him. So this is a tip that came from her.
Beautiful way. Yeah. If we can do that, nothing like it, right? We can take help from technology, or in fact, there was a guy from ISKCON, he used to travel with 2 tickets always. Even in a plane, he will say, Shri Krishna, this is for you. And he will carry that small idol and keep a ticket for him. That level of bhav he had. Obviously, it's an advanced stage, but that is a practice we need to get into. That God is both my protector as well as my witness. That is the consciousness we need to deepen over time. Great discussion. Having it.
Okay, so there are hands. Okay, so
quickly do that. I know Sandhya has a hard stop at 10:15. I had it at 10 o'clock. I have overspoken my jaw already, but let's wrap it up in next 5 minutes.
Okay.
Two.
Yeah, Asha ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Asha ji.
Asha
Please
ji.
fill out the attendance tracker as well if you have not already.
Yeah.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe, Asha ji.
ये मन को कैसे कृष्ण के अनुसंधान में रखा जा सकता है, इसके बारे में मैं कभी सोचती हूँ तो ऐसा होता है कि जब आप सेल्फलेसली स्नेह करते हो कृष्ण से या सुप्रीम लॉर्ड से, तो उस वक्त इस तरह मन को समर्पित करने का ये इट्स नॉट इजी. Gradually we can attain that stage, but इस तरह से मन की सारी वृत्तियों को, चित्त को कृष्ण में एब्सॉर्ब होने देते हैं जब सेल्फलेसली. जैसे कि माँ का एग्जांपल दिया गया कि कोई भी काम करती हो माँ ऑफिस में या कहीं भी ट्रैवल करती हो, तो बच्चे के साथ उसका मन, उसे जोड़ना नहीं पड़ता, अनायास. और एक दूसरा एग्जांपल मेरे मन में आता है कि एक नई दुल्हन है जिसका पति सरहद पे सोल्जर है, लड़ रहा है और वॉर चल रही. तो उस वक्त वो दुल्हन कुछ भी काम करेगी, घर के काम करेगी, पानी भरने जाएगी, रसोई बनाएगी, बातें करेगी सहेलियों से, घर के सभी बुजुर्गों को संभालेगी, मगर उसके मन का एक अनुसंधान बहुत ही उसके पति की हालत पे जुड़ा रहेगा, क्योंकि एक मोमेंट के लिए भी वो she will not be away of the thought of his husband. तो इसी तरह मन को जब पूरी तरह हम एब्सॉर्ब होने देते हैं ईश्वर तत्व में, तभी आपको प्रयत्न नहीं करना पड़ता. And that stage it's very difficult and very highly elevated soul, but we have to attain step by step that thing. हर हमारी चित्तवृत्ति कोई भी काम करते हो, और उसके लिए जो भी बताए गए कुमार जी ने या सब पार्टिसिपेंट ने बहुत ही अच्छे हैं कि मैं भी ऐसा करती हूँ कि जब भी 3 बार कृष्ण की प्रार्थना करती हूँ, कृष्ण की या भगवान की, व्हाटएवर, तो वो बहुत अच्छा है मन की वृत्तियों को उसमें एब्सॉर्ब होने के लिए. मगर अनुसंधान एक अदृश्य ही तत्व है जो मन को उसी के साथ जोड़ा रहता है. तो ये हो तभी ये कर्म योग सच्चे अर्थ में हम लोग कर सकते हैं, वरना और ये इजी नहीं है. We are all spiritual seekers and we are under learning process. Thank you.
वेरी नाइस आशा जी, बहुत अच्छे. बहुत ही डीप बातें आपने बताई, उसके लिए धन्यवाद. और एक नए शब्द का मुझे भी आज अनुसंधान, बहुत ही अच्छा शब्द आपने दिया. आगे से मैं ये ध्यान रखूंगा. आई थिंक इसका पर्यायवाची अंग्रेजी में शायद योग. स्वामी जी सेज योग योर माइंड टू एट द लोटस फीट ऑफ गॉड. सो लव्ड इट. बहुत ही सही, बहुत ही डीप बातें आपने बताई. और वही उसी की हमें जो प्रैक्टिस है उसको परिपक्व करना है. वी हैव टू फ्रक्टिफाई द एफर्ट्स अराउंड इट. सो ब्यूटीफुल पॉइंट्स. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर दैट. लेट्स क्विकली टेक.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe.
Just wanted to say that in the office, when we have the cubicles or the cabins, usually people try to put the pictures of their family members or pets. We just have to replace all these pictures with Sri Krishna, put the wallpaper also of Sri Krishna, that's it. And then whenever you will try to glance here and there, you will only see him. And that can actually help, and that works. So the only key thing is practice. And sometime, yeah, it will, I mean, the magic will happen. Yeah, so that's it. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful point. Yen Ken Prakar, and anything that takes our mind to God. And keeping pictures is a great way, right? We are actually doing Roop Dhyan when we look at God, open eye meditation in a way. Beautiful point, Rahul. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, last but not the least, we can take Padmaji and then we'll do our closing prayers.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Padmaji.
Radhe Radhe. Just wanted to share 3 thoughts. What is the wisdom and the spirit of spirituality? The wisdom and the spirit of the spirit, right? When we say spirit, like the spirit of a sport, the spirit of being a doctor, the spirit of being a project manager, the spirit of being whatever you are, the spirit of being a mother. So I guess the spirit of spirituality or the sport of the spirituality really comes from the wisdom where you're at least attempting to align your thoughts, align your heart, align your actions towards what is that purpose, that spiritual purpose that is demanding in that situation, whatever the form and shape that you're serving. What is that spiritual purpose? And for that to happen, to have a clarity in your heart and clarity in your mind to know what it really means, you have to calm yourself, calm your mind, so that you let the God's grace come in, you let his silence come in, you let his voice come in rather than the noise that we create in our own mind. And for that, faith is the stepping stone. But in order for us to get to that faith, we need to have that strong belief and then have that grace upon ourselves to say, I am going to fail, but I'm going to take that baby step. I'm going to fail, but I'm going to take that baby step. But those baby steps, I think, instead of verbally saying to your mind, you have to sit deeply and convict yourself that you want to experience that wisdom rather than just mechanically saying about it or mechanically doing about it in a bigger way. But even if you do a smaller way, that you're actually experiencing this wisdom, that experience that you experience from within will give you the deep rooted spirituality that you're really, really seeking for. And those baby steps are the most important, I feel, that one needs to give to themselves.
Beautiful. That's great point. I would like to go a little deeper into that, Padmaji, if you can put down that concept, because it was pretty deep, profound that you spoke about.
Yeah, it's like if I have to speak for myself, right? You're always faced with situation. Let's say some situation comes in. It is sad. It would be sometimes it is happy, sometimes it's miserable, sometimes it's joyful. Through those experience itself, you say you're experiencing God through those experience, but not complain that you're crying, not complain that you're sad, but through that sadness, through that confusion, when you embrace the confusion but not punish the confusions, when you embrace the questions, when you embrace everything, then that gives you the inner voice and the inner freedom. When you let, like, I feel like there are inlets which are constantly pouring. God is constantly pouring the grace, but when we are deeply contemplating and giving a very big definition, a very high authority to pain, a very high authority to our emotions, and say, my sadness is so much, my worry is so much, my bad karma is so much. When we make those things like really higher than the grace which is pouring in, we miss that grace. But if you say, yes, suffering is part, I'm not prepared for this, but give me the courage to go through this pain, give me the courage to go through whatever I need to do. What is the right thing to do in this moment? And you always stay in that state of begging Lord and say, you know what, I'm really not sure what is that I need to do. And in your heart, in your thoughts and in your actions, and say, what is my duty? Then those inlets that we have when the God's grace is continuously pouring, it will come in when we don't make those things much higher than the grace itself.
Beautiful point. That's true. Not making a big deal out of it, but seek help from God and He will definitely show the way. Great points. Wonderful. So with that, Sandhya, I think we've come to the end. We can do our closing prayers.
Yeah, any volunteer or?
Any volunteers for that? And tomorrow we will discuss, we will put it all together, the whole concept of Karm Yog that we have discussed, some more deep layers we will peel around it, and then we will pick up the Karm Sannyas. No discussion of Karm Yog is complete until we have discussed the other aspect of it, the Karm Sannyas, because they have a difference and at the same time they are the same. So it is a very important concept, needs to be understood properly. Okay, any volunteers?
Yes, the two volunteers, I've unmuted both of them, Ashutosh ji and Surinder ji. Please go ahead.
Do that.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरि ओम. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, everybody. My jaw cooperated, so it's only going to get better, hopefully. Thank you again for a wonderful session. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful day. Stay blessed, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Radhe Radhe. Have a great day. Good night.
Good night.